Fascism isn't just a relic of the 20th century. It's a warning. It's a pattern, a playbook. And in 2025, that playbook is being read out loud in real time by none other than Donald J. Trump. This video isn't about name calling, it's about pattern recognition. What makes a leader fascist isn't just a love of flags or yelling at journalists. It's about consolidating power, scapegoating the vulnerable, dismantling democratic norms, and replacing facts with propaganda. It's about turning citizens into soldiers, laws into weapons, and loyalty into currency. Trump's second presidency has only deepened the authoritarian tendencies he displayed in his first, from deportations under archaic laws to attacking judges, stripping security clearances, and threatening civil servants. We are watching fascism unfold, not with goose steps and armbands, but with executive orders and social media rants. This list will walk you through the top 10 ways Donald Trump is a fascist, using not just history, but headlines. And no, we're not talking about some exaggerated orange man bad narrative. We're talking about facts, actions, patterns that match the worst regimes in modern history. If you believe democracy is more than just a slogan, if you think freedom requires vigilance, not vibes, then stay with me. This countdown is not just a warning, it's a wake-up call, and we are way too late in waking up. Number 10. The cult of personality. One of the clearest signs of fascism is the emergence of a cult of personality. Donald Trump doesn't just lead the MAGA movement, he is the MAGA movement. His followers don't just chant policy, they chant his name. His face is on flags, bumper stickers, bobbleheads, and even literal golden statues. And in his second term, it's only intensified. He no longer tolerates dissent at all. He eradicates it. Disloyal Republicans are purged from leadership. Critics within the GOP face primary challenges fueled by Trump's endorsement. Former allies like Liz Cheney, Mike Pence, and even military officials are branded as traitors, while sycophants are elevated regardless of competence. He's made himself a messianic figure to his base. His social media posts claim persecution on behalf of the people. His rallies are less political events and more revivalist cult meetings, and every attack on him is framed as an attack on America itself. This is classic fascism. Mussolini did it, Hitler did it, Kim Jong-un does it. When one man becomes the identity of the state, democracy dies. It's no longer about governance, it's about worship. Trump's personality cult has effectively replaced the GOP's platform with loyalty pledges. And we've only just begun his second term. This isn't politics as usual. It's a populist cult with authoritarian teeth, and it's dangerous. Number 9, attacks on the free press. A free press is a dictator's worst nightmare. That's why fascists always go after journalists, and Trump has done exactly that. From calling the media the enemy of the people to praising violence against reporters, he spent years delegitimizing truth tellers and replacing them with propaganda. In his second term, the attacks have escalated. Lawsuits have been weaponized against critical media outlets. Press credentials for unfavorable journalists are being revoked. Government agencies are being instructed to treat hostile coverage as a national security risk. Trump's media machine, now spread across Truth Social, compliant right-wing outlets, and unofficial surrogates, relentlessly amplifies lies and disinformation. Dissenters are smeared, whistleblowers are hunted, investigative reporters are facing growing threats, both legal and physical. This isn't just press bashing, it's a systematic effort to replace facts with loyalty. And it works. Trump's base doesn't believe traditional media anymore, not because it's wrong, but because Trump told them not to. This mirrors the fascist playbook: discredit the press, build your own propaganda machine, and gaslight the public until truth itself becomes negotiable. Journalists aren't perfect, but without them, democracy suffers. Trump knows that, and that's exactly why he's trying to strangle the Fourth Estate. Number 8, glorification of violence. Fascist regimes don't just use violence, they glorify it. They romanticize the strongman, the crackdown, the righteous fist crushing the enemy. And in Trump's America, political violence has become a badge of honor. From the start, Trump told rallygoers to assault protesters. He praised the violent vigilante Kyle Rittenhouse. He told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. And then came January 6th, a failed coup attempt he incited, watched unfold, and later excused. In his second term, this rhetoric hasn't softened, it's escalated. Trump has praised Capitol rioters as hostages, called for mass pardons, and described political opponents as vermin. His rallies feature speakers who call for executions. Some GOP officials have echoed calls for civil war and retribution. He's creating a political theology where violence isn't just justified, it's holy, where guns, masculinity, and aggression are sacred virtues, where compromise is weakness and brutality is patriotism. This isn't hyperbole. This is what fascists do. They use violence as spectacle, as purification, as power. And Trump, once again, is right on script. Number 7, scapegoating and dehumanization. Every fascist needs a villain and other to blame. Trump's list is long. Immigrants, Muslims, LGBTQ+ people, black activists, Democrats, the media. He casts them not as citizens with differing views, but as existential threats to the country. In his second term, the scapegoating has grown more explicit. He invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport hundreds of Venezuelans, even defying court orders. He's labeled trans Americans as perverse threats, accused immigrants of bringing disease and crime, and called political opponents animals. These aren't just slurs, they're dehumanization. When you call people vermin, criminals, or invaders, you make it easier to justify violence against them. Point to be made. Dehumanizing people you don't like is not the same as pointing out fascism when we see it. Fascists thrive on fear. They manufacture crisis, and then they offer themselves as the only solution. Trump does exactly that. He doesn't solve problems, he weaponizes them. He pits neighbor against neighbor and community against community, all to consolidate power. When humanity becomes conditional, democracy collapses. And Trump has shown us who he really thinks qualifies. Number 6, undermining democratic institutions. Fascists don't need to destroy democracy in one fell swoop. They just need to hollow it out from the inside. And Trump is wielding a sledgehammer. In his second term, he's fired watchdogs, installed loyalists across key departments, and launched open attacks on judges, prosecutors, and civil servants. The Justice Department is under attack. Independent agencies are being politicized. Federal employees are facing loyalty tests. He revoked the Secret Service protection of critics. He openly demands prosecution of opponents. He threatens government agencies that don't comply with his whims. And he insists the executive branch owes loyalty to him, not the Constitution. This is institutional rot, and it's by design. Trump doesn't believe in checks and balances. He believes in obedience. Every weakened court, every neutered oversight committee, every gagged agency is another step towards autocracy. This isn't dysfunction. It's fascism wearing a red tie. Number 5, militarization of civil life. A healthy democracy separates civilian government from military power. Fascism merges them. Trump blurs those lines constantly and deliberately. During his first term, he deployed federal troops against racial justice protesters and staged military parades to feed his ego. In his second term, he's pushed that further, expanding ICE enforcement into heavily militarized raids, proposing the use of the National Guard in blue cities without consent, and signaling he may invoke the Insurrection Act against political protests. He speaks of dominating opponents and taking back the streets. He treats civil unrest not as a policy issue, but as a war, and he positions himself as the commander of that war. Fascists adore the aesthetic of war: uniforms, salutes, flags, and force. Trump leans hard into that. He brands his political movement as a battle between good and evil, his version of America versus everyone else's. And in that frame, violence becomes a tool of purity. Democracy relies on dialogue. Trump relies on threats. Number 4, loyalty over law. In any fascist regime, loyalty to the leader supersedes loyalty to the law. Trump doesn't want public servants. He wants personal servants. In his second term, this obsession with loyalty has become even more blatant. He's purging the civil service. Longtime career officials are being replaced by loyalists who pledge allegiance not to the Constitution, but to Trump himself. He's revoked security clearances of former officials critical of him, threatened prosecutors investigating him, and is now demanding that government employees pass loyalty screenings. This is how fascism functions. Power is centralized in the hands of the leader, and institutions become tools for vengeance, not justice. Trump expects the FBI, the DOJ, and the military to serve him, not the nation. That's not democracy. That's dictatorship. He's even gone after judges who rule against him, calling them deep state or Obama judges. The goal is simple: to make it impossible to believe in neutral justice, erode faith in the courts, in the law, and in truth itself, so that only Trump remains. Competence is optional. Obedience is mandatory. That's how fascists rule, and Trump is ruling like one. Number 3, suppression of dissent. Democracies invite protest. Fascists crush it. Trump has made it clear that dissent, whether in the streets, the press, or within government, is treason in his eyes. Peaceful protesters have been vilified. Under Trump's orders, police departments are being militarized, dissenters surveilled, and organizers targeted. New laws in red states criminalize protests, sometimes allowing drivers to strike demonstrators with immunity. Trump supports these moves and in some cases actively encourages them. He's labeled whistleblowers as traitors. He's used federal resources to intimidate civil servants who speak out. Well, leakers are prosecuted with unprecedented aggression, and some critics have lost jobs, security, and protection. And let's not forget his supporters. Armed militias roam state capitals threatening lawmakers, school boards are harassed, election officials receive death threats. Trump says nothing because he knows silence is consent. Fascism doesn't need official prisons to suppress dissent. It needs fear. Fear of job loss, doxing, harassment, arrest. Trump doesn't just allow it, he cultivates it. This isn't leadership, it's intimidation. Number 2, corruption and cronyism. Trump's second term is already dripping with self-dealing, crony appointments, and personal enrichment. He's packed his administration with loyalists who have no business being in government. Grifters, conspiracy theorists, and media personalities more loyal to Mar-a-Lago than to their oaths of office. Contracts are handed to donors. Pardons are promised to allies. Oversight is gutted. He's even tried to profit directly, pushing policies that benefit his business, scheduling diplomatic events at his properties, and encouraging officials to stay at Trump-owned hotels. Critics are silenced, investigators are fired, and audits disappear. This isn't just unethical, it's systemic. It's exactly what you'd expect from someone who never released his tax returns and thinks rules don't apply to him. And let's be clear, corruption isn't just a side effect, it's a strategy. Corruption rewards loyalty. It keeps people compromised, and it builds a network of dependent yes-men who will do anything to stay in power. Fascism feeds on corruption, and Trump has made it a cornerstone of his rule. Hey, if you like what I do, like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps. Now, on with number 1. Number 1, the attempt to end elections. We have to call it what it is. Trump tried to end democracy. In 2020, he lost, but he refused to accept it. He lied about voter fraud, tried to pressure election officials, demanded fake electors, and incited an armed insurrection to stop the certification of votes. And in his second term, he's working to ensure that next time he doesn't have to try so hard. He's backing state-level bills to restrict voting rights, criminalize ballot assistance, and give partisan bodies the power to overturn results. He's openly stated he'd be a dictator on day one. He's endorsed the idea that some Americans, namely his opponents, shouldn't be allowed to vote at all. He's replacing election officials with loyalists. He's pushing for military enforcement of election integrity, and he's laid the groundwork to reject future outcomes he doesn't like. Fascism thrives when democracy dies. Trump didn't just flirt with a coup, he led one. And now he's laying the legal and rhetorical groundwork to make sure next time he doesn't lose. So here we are. 10 reasons, 10 undeniable signs that Donald Trump is walking the fascist path. And we didn't even need to mention armbands or swastikas, because modern fascism doesn't always look like it did in 1939. Sometimes it wears a red hat. Sometimes it tweets. Sometimes it holds rallies that look like rock concerts and calls critics vermin. But the pattern is there. The rhetoric, the cult, the power grabs, the dehumanization, the violence, the lies. This isn't about left versus right. This isn't about partisanship. This is about democracy versus authoritarianism, freedom versus fear, the future versus the past. If Trump succeeds in dismantling what's left of the guardrails, we won't be looking at politics anymore. We'll be looking at a regime, one built on loyalty, brutality, and vengeance. One where laws are tools of punishment and elections are just theater. We have a choice, but that window is closing. Every authoritarian movement starts with people saying, it's not that bad, or he doesn't really mean it, or it can't happen here. It is happening here, right now. And if we don't resist it, vocally, relentlessly, and united, it will take root, and it won't go away quietly. Who's taken away the rights of Americans? Click over here to see my video on how conservatives are coming for your rights, and click over here to see my latest video. Thank you and take care.